Thank you, Sandy Roberts. Here's the man setting the pace, Mark Scaife, the Winfield Commodore, Mount Panorama today. Heading up the mountain, that gap out to 10 seconds over Larry Perkins and the Castrol Commodore. Paul Radisich of New Zealand is back in third. And then David Brabham in car number 2, making it up to fourth, just clear of Peter Brock in 05. Neil Crompton is sixth in car 7. Glenn Seaton up to seventh in car number 30. And the Steve Harrington Quick Stores car that he's sharing with Troy Dunstan is to eighth. Thomas Mazera, Win Percy car, win at the wheel now in 9th spot. And Brad Jones in car number 16 in position number 10. Peter Brock is still in this with a very big chance. I'm sure you agree, Peter. Perfect.
Well, I went out with a very soft tyre, Mike, and it hasn't been the right choice. You can probably see it on TV on the outside shots. It's having a bit of a slip of a slide. So I've had to nurse it this first stint, but, you know, it's hanging in there very well, really, isn't it?
It is, Pete. I noticed when Brabham was able to pass you and got away for a while, then all of a sudden he came back to you again through consistent laps.
Yeah, that's about what it boils down to here. I don't know what the time performance is that he's using, but mine is sort of, it plateaus, you know, to get to a certain point. The other thing I'm doing is that I'm using 7,000 revs, and the other guys, the judges against him points, are using the full complement of revs, and, you know, I don't like to look at that for 161 laps.
No, you're right there, Pete. We'll come back to you later. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Mike.
Peter Brock. Alan Grice is in the pits and a change for the number 2 car. That looked like a quickie.
David Brabham out, Anders Olofsson in that car. The Sylvania Waters entry. Donna, her father and son's been in and out again, with a couple with the right rear tyre, and the Daily Planet car is also on its way to the pits. In fact, we're on 27 laps, so there's going to be a whole heap of action in there in the next 3 or 4 laps, Mike.
Car 2, Anders Olofsson at the wheel now, rejoins in 10th position.
Well, Gricey, if you're in the pits, we expected a lot of the lead cars to come in round about the same lap, but that was a pretty good stop for Freddie Gibson's team.
Very good stop. It was completely routine. The tyres that came off the car looked good, as against the tyres that came off the HRT cars did look distressed. The thing that concerns me about the 2 Winfield cars, if you watch them on the track, Mike, they've started to pump the brake pedal up already. They've done nothing about it on this stop, but I'm sure they're thinking about it. They're losing some effect of the brake pedal, so we'll keep our eyes on that.
Yes, I noticed that at the end of Conrod Straight in both cars. Both drivers were doing it.
Yes, and it's peculiar to the 2 Winfield cars too, so, you know, maybe if there is a problem, it's a common one with those cars. Let's hope not.
At this stage, Gracie, it doesn't seem to have affected their times. They're still doing
There's
high
no
15s.
doubt about that. It hasn't affected their times yet, but it does put that little bit of uncertainty in the driver's mind, the fact that he's got to bring his left foot across, touch the brake pedal before he hits a braking area. Just that little bit of confidence goes away, but they're experienced blokes. I'm sure they'll handle it.
Thanks very much, Alan.
While we're talking times, Mike, I noticed that the HRT cars have picked up 3 seconds. Both car 15 and 16 have benefited from that new rubber.
We have another one in the pits. This is the Daily Planet car. It's in the pits, was running 25th on the road. There's Anders Olofsson, an experienced driver and a gentleman too, Anders Olofsson. Swedish boy that they brought over a couple of years back to run with the Nissan team. And you recall last year, even on the Bathurst balcony, when it all turned a bit on the nasty side, Anders was still smiling. He said, "It is just fantastic. Cheer for whatever car you want."
The number 1 Winfield car with Mark Scaife at the wheel. The race leader is also about to pit for tyres, fuel and a driver change with Jimmy Richards to take over.
Well, I tell you what, they're not going to lose anything out of this pit stop when it comes. Mark reels off the lap as Anders Olofsson settles in the number 2 car. Brings it across the line one more time. Anders Olofsson, 41 years of age. They're all in the 40 over club. Lives, of course, in Sweden. Winner of the Swedish Formula 3 Championship in 77 and 78. Winner of the Japanese Touring Car Championship 89. The Spa 24 Hour in 1991. And it's his 3rd start at Mount Panorama.
Anders was saying to me before the race actually how much he enjoyed driving this car with 550 brake horsepower, rear-wheel drive, very much more like a proper racing car and fun. And into the pits comes the leader.
Okay, Alan, call the action for us.
Well, it looks like a routine stop. No, it's not. The rear right had held them up, but they got it off now. The tyres come off and it doesn't look distressed. It looks good. But it's certainly a routine stop. They're not looking at any brakes. They're not checking fluid. the rear wheel is the one that's holding them up. But they've caught up, and would you believe it's always the away fuel then holds them up. But it's a good stop. It's a good lead car stop.
Jimmy Richards heads off along pit straight, rejoins in second position. But 79 has finished in the sand over there. That's
Conway
the Mike
Gardner.
Yeah.
Corolla entry was one of the top qualifiers in the 2-litre category. In the 2-litre category, back in the scrum on Mount Panorama, by the way. It's the two Caltex entries, Colin Bond and John Smith, that are leading that category at the moment, ahead of Cotter and Dillman, the defending champs.
Another dust up on the mountain. Is that the Bob Pearson product car getting a little sideways and trying to catch it? Has clipped the wall, I'd say. Or has he? That's
yes,
the 33 car.
Right rear's crunched the wall there.
He's been able to catch it around. Bob Pearson, one of the best turned out cars. We've got a 2-car team here. Phil Ward as well for product. But that was a wild slide. And I've noticed the Holdens are coming in probably up to 2 or 3 laps earlier than the teams indicated before the start of the race.
That could make all the difference towards the end of the race, with perhaps an extra pit stop for the Holden cars.
Well, there's the Bob Pearson Stewart car in the pit area now, doing some work on that.
It doesn't seem to have been extensively damaged.
Was in 17th position, car number 33, the Product Commodore.
I'll have to keep an eye on the pits. I've just been informed that Dr. John Hewson is on the right front wheel of the Radisich car when it comes in for tyres. Unless, of course, he has, in the meantime, been usurped by Bronwyn Bishop.
I don't think so. There's the 4 car staying to the left side. Terry Finnegan there in the background too, the Foodtown Commodore. It's car number 1, Mark Scaife, continues down the front straight.
Poleman Larry Perkins, who led the first couple of laps before he was usurped by Mark Scaife, and who then inherited the lead when Scaife pitted, is about to come in himself for a routine stop. Jimmy Richards at the wheel. We'll then go back to the front. There's the Synovus entry of Alan Moffat going through. Charlie O'Brien and Andrew Miedeke driving the very distinctive Synovus entry.
They're up to 15th. And they are also just taking it very, very easy today. They plan to be around at 4:15 in the top 10. Beautifully turned out car. First race start for Alan Moffat's U-Butte Falcon EB.
Tell you who else is in the top 10, Mike, unheralded too, coming off 12th position on the grid. Dunstan and Harrington in the 55 car. They're operating out of the Mobile 1 camp, but in a different livery under the Pepsi banner, and they're doing a damn good job. They're up to 8th position.
Yes, they've done a fine job. Back behind them, Bradley Jones in car number 16.
That's such a good-looking Falcon, isn't it? It really is pristine. They've turned it out beautifully and deserve credit.
Well, the Chris Conamaki piece that we saw earlier this morning with Alan, the engine built by the Holman and Moody organisation at Charlotte, North Carolina, running with a carburetor rather than the $20,000 fuel injection system. They had some dramas early in the week. I think a muffler caught alight and burned a bit of a hole through the floor or singed something. And then they had to change a fuel cell as well, which had gone past the use-by date. Apart from that, the car has run consistent.
It looks stable, not too much flex, and I'm sure they'd be more than thrilled to be in 15th position.
Here's the other Falcon EB too, a first start today. Gary Wilmington, car number 41. Gary's always been a lover of the big V8s. And he's in the pits. It's not a high-dollar operation, but he's here and arrived without any fanfare.
Also running carburetor and not fuel injection.
He used to run an XJS up here in the old days, didn't he? He was a Jaguar pilot. Without the budget to support such an expensive motor car, didn't enjoy a lot of success.
A Aussie battler.
Jimmy Richards, car number 1, the Commodore. And the Falcon EB, the Synovus car, staying with him as Larry Perkins comes in for his pit stop. Now, will Larry step out? Let's go down to Andy Raymond.
Larry will step out. Greg Hansen, former motorcycling aces, jumping in the car. Larry in a complete lather of sweat. It is a regulation stop. All 4 tyres, 110 litres of fuel. They're having a quick look at the brake pads down the front. And I tell you what, there's a little bit of smoke. The fellas don't seem to think it's anything to worry about, and they're throwing the brand new tyres back on. They are the same compound that Larry has just run. the last 30 laps on. A few problems with the seat belt, but they'll be back out there.
Thanks, Andy.
They also came in 3 laps earlier than they had expected to come in.
Well, our race centre organiser Alan Horsley predicted earlier that the cars might be in just a little early. 11 goes back. Greg Hansford at the wheel and holding down second spot as Paul Radicic comes in now. A rash of pit stops on this lap. Radicic coming in. Young Cameron McConville, the 19-year-old graduate from Formula Ford. Looks like he's about to get his fiery baptism, AJ.
This is certainly his first time out for the Whiz Kid, 18 years of age. The Kiwi's out, the kid is in. Again, a regulation stop. All 4 Dunlops are being changed, 110 litres. The Shell crew very, very efficient. And McConville gets his first taste of the big time here at Mount Panorama.
Yes, a pat on the head for him, and he's got... I don't know whether they expected that Cameron would take the car over while it was running in 3rd spot. They were going to play more of a conservative run through the field. But he's a delightful young guy, and full credit to Dick Johnson. 18 will rejoin in 9th position on the racetrack. Full marks to Dick Johnson and the Shell team. They've been bringing on young talent for the last few years. And he has a great program going through from the Formula Ford category, bringing them up into Tourers. Deserves a pat on the back for that.
Richard Hayes been working overtime on the calculator here. The equation, I think, Richard, is that anybody who can get 33 laps should escape with 4 pit stops for the race. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. And that extra stop will take, whether they can, however long it takes, will take an extra 30 seconds of slowing down and speeding up.
Here's a look at how your car is doing in the great race. We're going to go right through it for you now. Perkins and Hansford still leading over Jimmy Richards. The Radicic McConville car was running in 3rd spot. Brock and Cleland in 4th, and in 5th spot Neil Crompton, Mark Gibbs. Thomas Mazzera, Wynne Percy at the wheel at the moment, running in 6th over Seaton and Jones, Dunstan and Harrington. 9th is Bradley Jones, and 10th is the Brabham Olofsson car.
11th position filled by Morris and Winkelhock in the first of the BMW 2.5 litre cars, then Longhurst and Soper in the other team entry. Johnson and Bow, the Shell team, coming back in that car. Preston and Peters in the Kevin Waldock entry. Good to see them getting up there. Meet again O'Brien in Alan Moffat's Falcon in 15th position. Then Finnegan and Rogers holding down 16th place in the Third Town Commodore. Jones and Crick in 17th. Full and Fitzgerald in the second Diet Coke BMW in 18th spot. Then Brabham and Parsons in the EB Falcon in 19th. They had the damage early, you remember. And Ashby and Reed, the best presented car, in 20th place.
Position 21, Blanchard and Allen with the next to the B&H BMWs. Position 22, Johnson and Wall. 23rd, English and Youlden. 24th, Pearson and Stewart with the Product Commodore. 25th, O'Brien and Callahan with their Commodore. 26th, the lusty Heffernan entry. 27th, the Donahers. 28th, Trimboyle and Harris. 29th, Matthews and Mulverhill. And 30th, Smith and Bates.
At the moment, as you can see, we go through our race score. The driver change being affected on the Neil Crompton car. Mark Gibbs is in, Crompton is out. Pretty quick pit stop for all of the GIO crew as we take a look at positions 31 on.
Bond and Boss and Jack in the Caltex team Corolla. Seeker in 32, Cotter and Dillman in 33, Wilson and McShane. In 34, McCall and Gazzard, the GIO Australia Commodore VP in 35. Gary Wilmington and Pate in 36, Masterton Hills in 37, Stratton and Madden in the Corolla. In number 38, Rogers and Hotwood in the Bob Holden Motors Toyota Corolla. 39, Conway Gardner, and in position 40, Macmillan Martin.
41 is the Binding and Dartell Corolla, clear of Ellery and Gassati in that 2-litre Sierra. 43rd, Cramp and Cribben in a Toyota. 44 is Golson and Golson. And 45 is Easton and Kratzman. That's running through the entire field for you in the great race, the Tooheys 1000. Mount Panorama Bathurst, Peter Brock, car number 05, running well within the top 7 here all day. And when we spoke to Peter, you'll recall he said there wasn't too much he could really do about the tyres. He'd gone for a softer set.